This is an interesting video from a series of videos in which we consider the lesser-known true wireless IEM, and today we are looking at the Orbit from Campfire Audio. We tested them in Germany, in our studio and on the face. I tested them on the plane, and I also tested them at my home here in Lisbon, as well as on the street, and in this video we will look at the set of functions, the usability of the application, the quality of phone calls and the sound quality with music, and in the end, I hope to answer many of the questions that you have. So, the Campfire Orbits are a very attractive IEM, a real wireless IEM. They sell for $249, so we beat the Soundcore Liberty 4 by at least $100, and unlike the competition, the Campfire Orbit comes with a convertible top, and I prefer flip-top cases because they seem more reliable, and the battery life on Orbit is estimated by the IEMs themselves at 8.5 hours, with 30 hours per case, but unlike competitors, during my testing, I found that nothing contradicts these figures stated by the manufacturer. Another advantage of Campfire over other manufacturers are wireless charging capabilities, as well as Orbits. The waterproof class is IPX5, so they are much better suited for intensive training in the gym. Orbit doesn't support LDAC, but they do support AAC, which is predictable because we need it for the iPhone, but they also support aptX if you have an Android phone that supports this codec. But remember that the hardware inside the in-ear headphones monitor inside the speaker plays a much more important role in what we hear as a reproducible codec, and inside Orbit we get a 1 cm liquid crystal polymer dynamic driver that is output through a stainless steel spout. But right away we need to talk about Bluetooth connection behavior. The power of Orbit is not in phone calls. I recommend you either stay at home, or you find a very quiet place on the street, because the noise of the wind will drown out your conversation, as well as the noise of traffic. And there is also an application that comes with Orbit, and there is no powdered sugar in it. It is quite simple, it's pretty primitive, at least it's primitive compared to the app that comes with Orbit. As for the other two wireless IEMs, the Campfire app only allows us to update the firmware or disable certain tap to control features on each earphone, but that's pretty much it. There is an equalizer, but sometimes it doesn't load. About why this is important at the moment, and all these mistakes are a shame, because the sound we get from Orbit, I have to say, frankly, is incredible. It's just great, because the head stage of Campfire IEM is as big as the competition. And in fact, this is the most natural sound of the three IEMs, because the sound I get from Orbit makes me doubt the need for some of the entry-level wired instant messaging systems that Campfire Audio produces, but there is a question mark hanging over the low performance of Orbit, and it's not even about Orbit, but about the tips for the ears, because the ear tips that come with Orbits, the silicone ear tips, are smaller than the ones that come with the wired IEMs from Campfire, which I have been using for many years and which I really like. I'm talking about the Final E type tips and the tips that come with Orbit. They are not Final E, they are lower profile tips, they are located closer to the top of the spout. But this smaller tip makes it harder for me to get good sealing inside the ear, which reduces the impact on the bass. Now I can achieve this if I will turn the earphone for a good few minutes, but then I freeze in place. I can't move, because if I walk, I will lose this sealing. Now you can say, well, why not use the latest electronic tip? But the fact is that this is a higher tip. There is more space between it and the nozzle in Orbit, which creates, if you want, a little space inside the headphone case to create more bass, and the bass seems a little bloated. Now I can use it a little align, but here's the thing. The equalizer doesn't always load, so I can't always align it, which is very frustrating. And if you think that only I have large ear canals and this particular problem, but it's not, because other people seem to. The ear canals are also large, and they also report the same problem with the fit, since they prefer ready-made electronic tips to the standard tips that come with Orbit, but they have a bass problem, and this requires an equalizer to solve the problem with the bass. In fact, it's not a problem with the bass, but a bass boost which needs to be removed. And I think it makes the situation a little worse that there is no active noise reduction in Campfire. Now I think that maybe that's why they sound so natural and so cute, but here's a piquant discovery. When I was on the plane, I used Orbit with the Final E tips, and this passive isolation was better for me than active noise reduction on the competitor's equipment, which I thought was really amazing. So sometimes passive isolation may be, but not always, better than active noise reduction, but neither of these two it is not as effective as the Sennheiser Momentum True Wireless 3 in terms of noise reduction, and especially Apple AirPods Pro version 2. And finally, I should also mention the beautiful packaging that Orbit comes in. Campfire Orbits are best suited for music, as far as I understand. Out of the three real wireless IEMs we're talking about, they sound large and bold, and when you set up the print correctly, they have an amazing macrodynamic effect. However, this printing problem, yes, I don't know, I really don't know what I'm going to do this. I hope that Campfire will release some larger tips with a lower profile so that they can be located closer to the outlet of the spout. I hope they will figure out their application, because it needs a bit of work. So yes, it's a bit mixed, it's just a wonderful sound, but with some real drawbacks. So if we want to answer the question of who Campfire audio systems are for, well, they are Defy Nightly for those who can cope with the absence active noise reduction. They are Defy Nightly for those who don't really worry about the quality of phone calls and it's all about the sound quality in music. It's really for music lovers, but I think that in fact, if you have large ear canals like mine, then they are probably best suited for listening at home. But you might think that this is a bit unusual for say, but as for me, I have used them extensively with the Cambridge Audio Alva TT2 player, which has a Bluetooth output. And therefore Campfire allows me to move around the house while continuing to listen to vinyl. So if you found this video interesting or informative, or a little bit of both, please think about sharing it with us. Please like it below if you like my attitude to portable audio and, in principle, whatnot. Everything is amazing. Not every product that comes my way is just sunshine and a rainbow always in every way, because Orbits are Defy Nightly not like that, and I think they need a little work on them. So yes, if you like it, please consider subscribing to this channel. And, as always, thank you very much for watching.